We were talking about solving radical equations and radical inequalities. And right now we're going to solve a radical equation. The first thing we have to do is isolate the radical if necessary. So on the left side of the equation, we can see that the radical is isolated. On the right side, it's not. So we just have to start the process. So it says raise each side of the equation to the same power in order to eliminate the radical. In this case, we have a square root that we want to get rid of. So we have to square this side to get rid of the radical. On this side, it's not isolated, so we need to square the whole thing. So what we have on this side, on the left side, we're going to need some extra room. On the left side, we have 4x minus 4. And then on the right side, we have the square root of 5x minus 1 times the square root of 5x minus 1 minus 1. So on the right side, we have to FOIL this together. 5x minus 1 times 5x minus 1 is just 5x minus 1. On the left side, we leave it as 4x minus 4. The square root of 5x minus 1 times negative 1 is minus 5x minus 1 square root. Same thing again, minus 5x minus 1 square root. And negative 1 times negative 1 is plus 1. So we have a negative 1 and a plus 1. So those two are going to cancel each other out. And we have a negative 5 square root of 5x minus 1 and a negative 5 square root of 5x. These are the same. Basically, they're like combining like terms. So what we end up getting is we get 4x minus 4, and then that is going to be equal to 5x, and then we have 2 negative square root 5x minus 1. So minus 2 square root of 5x minus 1, because we have 2 of them there. So now we have another radical equation, and we need to isolate the radical on the right side all by itself. So there's a couple steps that we have to do first. The first thing is we have to subtract 5x from both sides. And we get negative x minus 4 is equal to negative 2 square root of 5x minus 1. And then we have to get rid of the 2, so we can divide both sides by negative 2. And we get 1/2 x plus 2 is equal to the square root of 5x minus 1. And then we can square both sides. So we have the binomial on the left side, and we square the right side. So on the left side, we have to FOIL this 1/2 x plus 2 times 1/2 x plus 2. And what we get is x over 4 squared plus 2x plus 4 is equal to 5x minus 1. Then we can add 1 to both sides. And we can subtract 5x to both sides. So we need to get the right side of the quadratic formula to be equal to 0, and we got that. And now we get x over 4 squared x over 4 squared minus 3x, or minus 5x here, minus 3x plus 5. And that is equal to 0. So we'll rewrite it up here. One thing that we don't like is we don't like that this is divided by 4, so we can get rid of that if we multiply the whole equation by 4. And that will get us x squared minus 12x plus 20 equals 0. And then that will be a little bit easier to factor. So we can get x minus 2, x minus 10, that is equal to 0. So our two zeros are x equals 2 and x equals 10. And the last thing that we have to do is we have to check to see if those are solutions. So 4 times 2 minus 4 is equal to, that is the square root. That is equal to 5 times 2 minus 1 under the square root. And then we have minus 1. And what we get is 8 minus 4. We get the square root of 4 over here. And 10 minus 1 is 9. And we get the square root of 9. And then minus 1. So we do get 2 is equal to 2 for one of the solutions. So 2 works. And then we can check 10. So 4 times 10 minus 4. And that is equal to 5 times 10 minus 1 minus 1. 40 minus 4 is 36. So we have the square root of 36. And 50 minus 1 is 49. So we get the square root of 49 minus 1. And so we get 6 is equal to square root of 49 is 7, minus 1 is 6. So that works as well. So both of those are solutions to the equation.